This prototype gameplay was created within the context of the master thesis, Visual Aesthetics in Digital Games, a comparative analysis between photorealism and stylized graphics. The idea with this prototype was to explore the technical and artistic challenges of implementing both photorealistic and stylized look in an independent game scenario. The game starts in the photorealistic level, more specific in the cabin area. The cabin texture was created by blending two textures, the natural wood and the painted, to add more depth to its visual, since this is the first big game element the player gets in contact with. The game has several collectibles in the shape of stones in boxes. This is the first one, positioned to present the mechanic and set it in motion. This prototype was rendered using Unity's high-definition render pipeline, HDRP. This allows the use of physically based clouds and volumetric fog that, combined with the sun illumination, creates effects like the God rays in this section of the environment. The road was created with the procedural tool. This allowed a great flexibility to shape it, respecting the terrain topography. It also added constraints, as it prevented the addition of more elements, such as guardrail or even more complex texture. This is the gas station area. The marks on the floor were created with decal projection, another feature possible thanks to the high-definition render pipeline. It was never intended to be possible to enter the store. The reflexive film in the glass, as often used in this kind of building, was the solution found to not be necessary to model its interior. The environment simulates a section of a road surrounded by a forest. Now the player enters the forest clearing, where they find the portal structure, a major element for the game to progress. This is the military base area. This area was created with the intention to look abandoned and somewhat forgotten, but the lack of details disturbed this purpose. This area would benefit from more time spent on detailing, such as more medium to small scale props and some debris spread around the scene. Here it's possible to take a look on the fog effect from another angle. The main building was created in modules. Each section of the wall, pillar, beam, and slab are modules. This approach had good results in terms of modeling, but as every module shared the same texture, its repetitive pattern becomes noticeable. Some modules have shading problems appearing darker than the rest. The source of this problem is unknown, but an assumption has to do with the model's normal information when exporting the FBX file from Blender to Unity. The forest ended up with less trees than it was intended originally. The number of assets in this level have a direct impact on performance, and this amount was near the limit for the computer. If this prototype was to be developed into a game, model optimization is imperative to enable a much larger number of forest elements on the screen at the same time. Collecting all stones triggers a final speech that let the player know that they have to go to the portal structure. This issue appeared in the last build of the game. The camera should flow from the position the player entered the portal area to the front of the portal so that the level transition animation can start. A fix was not found as its cause remains unknown. In the second part of the game, the player is transported to the Stylized level. These levels share the same elements as the previous one, but has a different graphical style. In practical terms, the models remain the same, but their surface information changed from a group of 2D textures to a custom shader. The shader was created using Unity Shader Graph, as its node-based approach is ideal for a novice in the field. The shader was made to make the models look cartoonish, as this is a stylization technique often used in digital games. The collectibles had distinct positions in this level. In a final version, they would spawn randomly to increase replayability. The grass in this level ended up being a bigger issue than initially planned. The idea was to cover the entire forest floor with it, but to try to increase the number of instances was to bring the computer memory usage to its limits. The unit project was corrupted 2 times when trying this feature, so the grass element ended up being used sparsely throughout the scene. The shader's solid tone effect became harder to perceive in box-shaped models. In the military base area, it is possible to compare how the shader behaves in elements with different shapes and how some are more visually interesting than others. Some elements in the gas station force the shader to support the use of 2D textures. The gas pump or the store modules, for instance, have defining graphical features that comes from the 2D texture, but only base color information was added, so the cartoonish look could maintain cohesive. Feel free to contact the authors for any doubts or questions. Thank you very much.